So what is the way of dealing with this? So let me take you through what actually happened, because I was at that time the principal economic advisor in the finance ministry, and I was one of those who made policy to deal with this on the economic side, and I was witnessed very closely what was being done also on the health side, so that you'll give a flavor of how actual decisions get made when you deal with a real world situation. So here we are in the beginning of March 2020. What is the information that I have? The information I have is that something bad has happened in China, but the Chinese won't tell you what it is, and the WHO is trying to hide what it is. So the guys who are supposed to tell you what it is are actually deliberately trying to mislead you. Now you know that this thing has spread to northern Italy, and it's killing a lot of people. You have no idea why, what is it? You don't even know if it is a virus at this stage. You don't know how it spreads, what kind of virus it is, what are its symptoms, and why do people die from it? You have nothing. But you know that it has spread to Italy, and it's spreading very quickly, and you have all these WhatsApp images. Some of you will remember people are walking around in the streets of various places and just drop dead. Remember those? So this is all the information we have. If you think you had that information, that's what the government had, because nobody was sharing any information. Now what do I do? So like every government in the world, we called in the experts. The epidemics experts, medical experts, virus experts. And what happens, and again you'll remember it from the debate, this is a recent enough event, so you'll remember this yourself, that you'll get a wide variety of things were told to us. So there were one bunch of experts who said that this was nothing much more than a bad flu, and people getting hysterical for no reason. And then there were another bunch of people who were predicting that the world would end, millions of people would die. Now how do I know which one of these is going to be true? Right? And it's not just the Indians who are facing this problem, every government in the world faces the problem. So now there are different approaches and strategies. So one approach is, you look at the variety of things that can happen, and you choose which one seems to be the most likely one, and you go with that. So that's how some countries dealt with it. They must have talked to their experts, and then they chose the one that they thought was the best sounding one. So that's how you ended up with the Swedish model, right? So they took a call that this is the best guy, so let's go with him. Now this is how you ended up, for example, the UK initially came up with herd immunity, remember that? And Boris Johnson was criticized a lot. Singapore came up with some strategy, and China of course opted for the zero COVID strategy right up front in the beginning. Now we have a problem here in India. We are a large country with limited resources. We know that supposing we go down one path, whichever path it is, and it turns out to be wrong, we are in deep trouble. Because with 1.4 billion people, we are not like Sweden. We can't change our strategy halfway through, right? So what do? We have no information. We have a system where none of the experts seem to agree. And whatever strategy we want to take, we are stuck with that strategy once we take it, and we have to follow it through no matter what we do. So what do? So we opted for one strategy called a barbell strategy, which is widely used in the world of finance to deal with extreme risk. So instead of taking a unidimensional strategy, I take what is a middle path, or whichever one you think sounds the most upfront, sensible. What you do is you combine two opposite strategies. And so the opposite strategies is the following. Instead of wasting your time trying to predict what is going to happen, because you can't do it, you first of all hedge out the worst case scenarios and buy yourself time. Okay? So you hedge for the worst case outcome. And the other side, you basically make your way into the darkness of uncertainty through feedback loops. Okay? You continuously do what is called Bayesian updating. So you make your way into the darkness by feeling your way in. So this is the context in which we impose right in the beginning the full lockdown. People asked us, why did you impose a gigantic big lockdown when there were so few cases? Well, the reason for that is very simple. When you know nothing what's going to happen, you hedge for the very worst outcome, because what if the pessimists turned out to be right? Because there's no point in doing a nationwide lockdown after the disease has spread everywhere. And if the pessimists who were saying that millions of people would just drop dead were correct, then this was a sensible thing to have done. And it isn't the case that the economic managers at that time didn't realize that this had a huge economic cost that will come. It doesn't require a great amount of genius to realize that shutting down an economy of our size is a costly thing to do. But what we were trying to do was buy time, hedging for the worst outcome and buying time. In case it turned out that the pessimists were right, then we would have already done a lockdown while this disease was running riot in the rest of the world. It also buys us time to at least find out what is this disease spread by. To create some quarantining capability, some testing capability. Remember, in the beginning you don't have any of these things. You don't even know what you're testing for. Find out if vaccines can be created for it. Try and see, as the disease spreads in Europe, for example, from the experience of those countries which are slower in creating lockdowns, find out, okay, how does it actually go around and spreading? So by about May, June, we began to open things up. Now people are saying, okay, by this time there are actually more cases. Why are you opening up? Because we have more information. By September, actually, the number of cases actually had gone up. At the first wave peak happened in September.